I'd be so grateful to hear how you would handle your 13-year-old child telling you they are the wrong sex. I'm afraid to make things worse. It depends a lot on who they are and what your relationship with them is, and probably where you are, like what cultural part of the country or world you are in, and not just who they are now, but what their history has been, and what your history with them has been. It also matters what sex they actually are to some degree, because a girl who's coming to you, a daughter who's coming to you telling you that they're born the wrong sex, they're actually a boy, is more likely to be succumbing to a social situation than a boy who is coming to you saying the same thing. A boy who is coming to you saying the same thing is still very unlikely to be actually trans, and if it comes on all of a sudden, that's a good indicator that it's a social fiction. If you have talked to them before about anything biological or natural or scientific, this will be somewhat easier, I think. I'm trying to think. It's hard. I'm trying to think of what we would have said had this come from one of our children or someone whom we knew well.
I think, you need to recognize that you've been robbed of useful tools, that a civilization who has become confused about this, has undermined your parental authority. And I think this is part of, there is lots of talk of grooming and lots of talk about the abuse of that term. But there is something strange about society suddenly insisting that it has the right to tell your children all kinds of things about sex, sexuality, gender, etc. And so, you're not failing because you don't know what to say. You've been put in an impossible situation. Were it me, I would... You
therefore want to know what is in your child's head newly from other sources besides you.
Yeah. I think the thing that I would say, and again, I'm not telling you that this is sufficient, right? Maybe nothing is. But I think the thing that I would say is, there is a long history of people who have reached that conclusion. And some of them turn out to feel that way over the long term. But there is also a very long history of people having that sense and it going away and them being glad that they did not act on it, right? The number of people for whom dysphoria resolves is very high. And so I think the point that you want to drive home to your child is the last thing you want to do is take this thing that you feel very strongly at this moment and make permanent decisions based on it, because most of the people who might have done that are glad they didn't, because it simply resolves.
Maybe, again, depending on your relationship with your child and who you both are and what other family you have and everything, this feels very much like at least a part of a good response. It's hard for children to understand time, and it's hard for children to understand permanence. But I'm thinking about that Dr. Seuss book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, which is about how much opportunity there is. Everything is ahead of you. Like you open one door and maybe you shut it behind you, but look at how many more doors are ahead of you. And what you don't want to be doing when you're young is closing doors permanently that you don't have to, right? And we make lots of choices, and they open and close doors variously, but presumably at 13, your child has been through phases and probably had some activities that they enjoyed for a while and no longer do, or things like that. And if you were to say to them, when you were really into rocks And you could have made a decision then to become a geologist for sure. And maybe this is the wrong example, right? But you probably would have wanted to do so then. And yeah, you're older now and you feel like you know everything now, but no one ever knows everything about what it is that they're going to want to do. And one of the things, for instance, that people want to do later that many people don't think they want to do when they're young is have families of their own. And if you were to act on believing that you are born the wrong sex, there's a very good chance that one of the many, many doors that would shut for you is being able to have a family of your own someday. I say that stepping out now of trying to act as a parent who I've never met, talking to a child who I've never met. I don't know if that would have landed for me. I was a tomboy. I never thought I was a boy, but I was gender non-conforming on so many different levels. And it wasn't because of that. That I also just didn't think about having kids. I didn't think about marriage. I, have the love of my life who I found early, and that's amazing. But I didn't have the princess fantasies, the wedding fantasies, the marriage fantasies, the family. I didn't have any of it.
No, you didn't.
I really didn't. And the point that I got pregnant was a surprise to both of us.
Hey, Zach, how you doing?
But we had also long already talked about we will want to have kids by my late 20s. Yeah, I think we do. I think we do want to have that, but that was a long time after 13.
Yeah.
At 13, you say to a kid, what if you want to have a family one day? Maybe that doesn't land at all.Maybe it does. For some kids, it will. There are a lot of girls in particular who are really thinking very much of that as part of their identity at that point. But you know you and you know your child, and you will know what kinds of things matter to them and what they are sure they care about so deeply, and probably they won't care about in 5 years just because that's how things go. And are certain of now and probably won't be certain of in 5 years, things like this, because that's the way things go. And what things won't land as much. But there are likely to be many, many ways in around the sort of theme of I want to see you expanding your possibilities. I want to see you be everything. I, as your parent, want to see everything you could possibly be and have as many options as possible. And this may feel like an important, real thing right now, but it will shut down your options and it will close doors for you. And you will have a very hard time escaping from a decision that you want to make, or a series of decisions that you want to make right now.
So I have another thought. I think this is an important topic. It's worth the time. When you are young, you are often under the mistaken impression that you are involved in and this is part of the problem with not having rites of passage, is that you believe that you are sort of in the adult world already. And, especially you're on social media in the same place the adults are battling stuff out.
Yeah.
And the point is, you may feel that you have no idea how to become relevant, how to do something important that will matter over your life. And I think, we all wondered about that as young people. And you don't realize that, in fact, it would be very, very unlikely as a teenager to do anything that would be significant in terms, you could set yourself on a path, but it's very hard to produce anything as a teenager that ends up mattering. And in fact, I used to say this to our college students too, which is you are not in college to produce stuff. The chances that you will write something in college that will matter in the world is pretty low. The chances that you will upgrade your mind so that you are capable of writing things that matter is potentially high. It's at least much higher. And so that's the thing. You should be building the tool. That's what you're doing. And the things that you're producing are practice, right? But if we don't have rites of passage, and so you sort of feel like, oh my God, the adult world is full of stuff that matters, and some of my peers are doing things that certainly seem significant.
And people are paying attention.
The point is, what could you do right now that would suddenly make you relevant? And the answer is, this is something you can do to make yourself relevant instantly. You will become the focus of a debate over what's right and whether self-determination, this, that, and the other. And it's a fiction, right? You're being lured into adult consequence levels, like severe adult consequence levels, right? It's not like becoming addicted to a drug, which you can then become unaddicted to. Like that's an adult thing, and it's very, very serious. But obviously, it's not the same level of serious as I would like to decide today as a 13-year-old that I don't want a family, right? That's potentially irreversible. And so somehow, I think what we need to do is convey to our kids that they are not in the place where they need to be worried that they're falling behind the relevant people. They're not supposed to be attaining relevance yet, and that pressure is dangerous.
Yeah, it is very dangerous. And so somehow trying to help your child find their joy, and it's too young for them to be expected to know their passion. They may have lots of ideas, and they may have no ideas about what it is they think they're interested in, and both things are fine. But they can find joy. You can find joy at any age. And I think in middle school, in modern, weird middle school, there's not a lot of joy in general. But I think especially during COVID, it's not post-COVID. Right now, with the last 2 years behind us, there is so much less joy than there was. And grabbing attention has replaced experiencing joy as a primary motivator, I think. And if you can help your child find joy, then that may well help.